What is going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome back to another Dragon Ball fan manga review, where today we're going to be reviewing a fan manga entitled Son Goku and Superman 2, A Threat to All Reality, which pretty much focuses the premise of Superman having to enter the world of Dragon Ball, as for the first time we have an engagement and connection between the Man of Steel known as Superman and the Z Fighters that consists of Goku, Vegeta, and several others, as right now we're about to pan on in and finding out what happens in the Son Goku and Superman story. And if you guys are new to the channel, be sure to go on ahead and punch that subscribe button and turn on notifications. That way you guys can be notified whenever a Dragon Ball video is posted onto the channel. Hashtag notification squad. And be sure to go on ahead and check out my Dragon Ball fan manga review playlist for more awesome Dragon Ball fan manga content. So Son Goku and Superman 2 begins exactly where the manga chapter starts off, as the narrator goes on to say, in the multiverse there are living beings so powerful that you cannot even possibly imagine. Some of them have enormous strength, some of them can even time travel, some of which are able to also destroy universes. And then there are ones that are capable of all three, as even the mighty Justice League stood no chance against this villainous monstrosity, because there is still one man refusing to give up, but hope is not lost yet, as we get to see the Justice League floating in outer space, and we get to see Superman getting pummeled around space, as we see the Anti-Monitor stand in front of Superman, as Superman says, I have to find a way to defeat him, I have to stop him. And just as Superman is talking, we see the Anti-Monitor begin to beat down Superman, legitimately having to bloody him in outer space. As this fight drags on with Superman having to say, this is hopeless, nothing works on this bastard, I can't even hurt him, but I can't lose now, I just can't. The stake of the whole universe is now in my hands, I have to fight at all costs. So despite Superman having to lose this fight against the Anti-Monitor, it looks like he understands that this situation is in fact hopeless, but he still manages to grab the Anti-Monitor and being able to push him through an entire planet, in which the planet explodes, and then later on the Anti-Monitor having to say enough, in which he grabs Superman by the throat, in which he goes on to say, and you were supposed to be the mightiest of them all. I fought with stronger opponents for millions of years, there is none in existence that can stand in my way. After I am done with you, weakling, I am going to consume this universe and another, and then another, and then another, and I won't stop until there is absolutely nothing left. And this is a very similar situation to Goku, because we get to see how Superman just does not give up, and Superman having to say you won't, and the Anti-Monitor having to reply by saying, you don't want to believe me? Let me explain. This and many other similar universes from this dimension are made of positive matter. I, on the other hand, come from a parallel antimatter universe, and my purpose is to feed on the positive matter, i.e. this universe, and I can change any positive matter into negative ones, and then I consume it. Now look at this planet over here. It's mostly 3 times bigger than your Earth, and then we see a demonstration how the Anti-Monitor sticks his hand out and he begins to consume the entire planet with complete ease, and then Superman says, what the heck? What just happened? With the Anti-Monitor having to say, consuming this planet took me a few seconds. This is what's going to happen to every universe I visit. My hunger never ends. And Superman having to say, luckily this planet wasn't inhabitable. You didn't quite understand when I said I won't let you. Now look at this planet. And then the Anti-Monitor turns around and says, actually, this is not a planet. It's a star. It is a sun. It is a blue sun. And that's when Superman says, you see, next to my Earth, next to my planet, there is a yellow sun. A yellow sun is the source of my power. I am like a battery being consistently charged by the rays of the sun. That is why I am stronger than anyone living on Earth. With the Anti-Monitor having to say, so what? Does the blue sun weaken you? And that's when Superman says, on the contrary, and he blows back the Anti-Monitor using his beams and saying, the blue sun multiplies my abilities. I am a lot stronger than I have ever been. And that's when the Anti-Monitor is like, wait a minute, he's healed? And Superman begins to go on the offensive as he cocks his punch back and he hits the Anti-Monitor square in the head, as Superman says, I will not let you destroy any more planets. I am going to stop you right here, right now, even if it costs me my last breath. This is the day when you fall. And Superman is just completely trying in defeating the Anti-Monitor until the Anti-Monitor begins to tank all of Superman's shots, and then the Anti-Monitor begins to punch Superman in return, and the Anti-Monitor goes on to say, the blue sun multiplies your abilities? Did you seriously think that even this boost of power can hurt me? Even with hundreds of blue planets, you wouldn't be able to do anything. There is no existing force that can pierce through my armor, and that's when Superman says, okay, I have to admit, your arrogancy is definitely not from this universe. And that's when the Anti-Monitor says, you will die, with Superman having to reply by saying, but it's true. Maybe there is nothing in this world that can damage your armor. I'm guessing it's because it's made out of the strongest material in the universe. Or is it simply made out of antimatter? With the Anti-Monitor having to say, wouldn't you like to know? With Superman having to say, honestly, I don't care, if only I can think of one thing. And he grabs the Anti-Monitor and he pushes him back and saying, let's see how your armor handles high temperatures. And even the Anti-Monitor is like, what the heck, what is he doing? And Superman launches him into the sun. And as this is happening, the Anti-Monitor says, fool, you think this sun can actually harm me? I can easily consume it. And right then and there, it looks like something is happening to the Anti-Monitor's armor, as Superman even says, I got you. And he flies off and he says the Anti-Monitor was the biggest threat to the whole multiverse. Literally everything was in great stake, and I don't think that there would be anyone that can stop his rampage. I still can't believe that there are beings as strong as him. I simply can't believe it. And that's when somebody screams out, Superman, and we see this essence deep out into space, and he says, you've destroyed my armor, I will kill you. And then at that given moment, we see how Superman begins to strike back and saying, it's over, Anti-Monitor. But just as he does that, it looks like the Anti-Monitor is prepping to do something, and then out of nowhere, we see this massive explosion occur, to where it engulfs the entire solar system, the entire universe perhaps, in which, even going back to the Z world, Whis is shaking up. Whis says, strange. And then in the background, we see Goku and Vegeta training, with Beerus having to say, something wrong, Whis? And Whis having to reply by saying, something caused a big abnormality in space and time, and I'm not quite sure what. And this happened not only in this universe, with Beerus having to say, so, is this a dangerous thing for us or what? With Whis having to reply by saying, fortunately, it was just a temporary abnormality, but it's really strange. I've never seen such a phenomenon in any of the universes, but what's worrying me the most are the consequences of it. I have a really bad feeling about this, in which the manga chapter summarizes Superman having to go against the Anti-Monitor, and Whis having to have this feeling that's happening deep out in the void of space, as we move on to Son Goku and Superman 2's second chapter, as we pick it up with the narrator saying later, and then all of a sudden Superman is in deep space and he seems to be breathing really heavily, and Superman having to say, what the hell happened? How long was I unconscious for? The last thing I remember was punching the Anti-Monitor, and then he exploded. I should head back to the others. Let's hope that everyone's okay. Strange, there is no one here. I guess that I've been absent for quite a bit. The rest of the league must have returned back on Earth already. And then we see how Superman goes down onto Earth because he's assuming that the Justice League is there, and as he descends down, he says, wait, there's something bizarre going on. And as he lands, he says, I don't recall this wasteland actually being here. And then suddenly we see a red dinosaur appear, and even Superman's like, wait a minute, a dinosaur? And then the dinosaur tries to attack Superman, and the Superman's like, oh no you don't. And then as he pretty much evades the dinosaur, he's flying off and saying, did I travel through time? Am I in the Stone Age now? I mean, damn, this is really bad. Okay, I saw a few dinosaurs, but not as many as there should be. For real, like, what even is this? And as Superman is flying around, he sees buildings, and then he's saying, well, okay, and he's flying around, and then he says, wait, there's a city with living people, and there is a dinosaur. What the heck is going on? And as Superman lands, he says, okay, let's have a look around. I should find someone who can explain what this place is, because the name of this city doesn't sound quite decent, as we see Satan City in the background, with Superman having to say, excuse me, gentlemen, could you tell me what year it is now? And someone having to reply by saying, well, it's the year 780, sir. And Superman having to say, year 780, that's a strange date, is it not? I mean, it's pretty peaceful here. I don't think there is a job for anyone here. I mean, what's going on? And then all of a sudden we see a cry for help and saying, let's go, we gonna be rich. He's not around here. This time we can make it. And we see these two burglars and they're saying, I told ya, it's a good idea. And we see Superman say a bank robbery, not so peaceful after all. But who are they talking about not being around? No matter, I have to stop them. And then all of a sudden we see a Saiyan shoe appear out of nowhere and Superman's like, who? And then all of a sudden we see the bank robbers having to get beat up, and that's when the cops are saying, good job, like always, sir, it's good to have you around. And Superman is saying to himself, this guy, he's very fast, who is he? And then all of a sudden we see Great Saiyaman, with Saiyaman having to be Saiyaman and saying, I'm glad to be helpful, officer, with Superman having to say, despite his strange appearance, he seems to be a very strong guy, and the local police puts trust in him. It's good that even this place has its own hero, keeping everyone safe. And just as Superman takes off, Great Saiyaman notices, and he rushes up in the air, and Superman having to say, overall, I'm not needed here, I should really focus on finding my way home. And just as Superman takes off, Great Saiyaman just suddenly teleports right in front of him, and then that's when Superman says, wait, can I help you? And Saiyaman is looking at him, and we see how Gohan puts on like this weird face, and he says, wow, you look awesome, like where did you get such an amazing suit? Are you some sort of superhero? With Superman having to reply by saying, well, you could say that I am, and Gohan having to say, so cool, I've never seen you before though, are you from around here? With Superman having to say, no, I'm not from here. I realize that this is going to sound strange for you, but I don't even think that I'm from this timeline. And that's when Gohan's like, what? And we see how he takes off his helmet, and Gohan having to say, I think we're going to have a long talk, but first, let me introduce myself. My name is Gohan. And Superman's just looking at him, and then all of a sudden we see someone say, woo, we have a group of heroes with this unique powers fighting villains all around the universes. That's so cool. Yes, there are many foes that we had to fight to save the Earth, or even the whole universe. But then again, because as they're talking about this, Superman's explaining stuff to Gohan, and Superman having to say, nothing can compare to the monstrosity that we faced. With Gohan having to say, really? What was it? And Superman having to say, let me explain from the beginning. Something caused the disappearance of planets in my universe. We were trying to find the cause of this inexplainable phenomenon, but with no effect. After some time, one of our teammates that was scouting the cosmos came to our watchtower, in which we see Green Lantern and saying Green Lantern, for such was his name, was completely exhausted and beaten. He found out what was responsible for the massive disaster, not what, but more or less who. Green Lantern told us his name was Anti-Monitor. He saw with his own eyes how Anti-Monitor destroyed whole planets in minutes. And Gohan's like, planets? That's horrible. I mean, where did he even come from? With Superman having to say we couldn't figure it out until we finally found him in space. He told us that he is from the Anti-Monitor reality. He escaped from his reality into other universes to feed on positive energy. And that's when Gohan's like, wait, I've heard about that Anti-Monitor stuff, but what exactly is Anti-Monitor, and what's the Anti-Monitor reality? And that's when Superman says, to be honest, this is something I have also learned recently. From what I understand, there are two existing realities. One is made out of positive matter, this is the one that we live in, and the second one is made out of negative matter, which is the home of the Anti-Monitor. With Gohan having to say, so, the Anti-Monitor theory is true after all, but how did Anti-Monitor even escape from his reality? It's not possible. With Superman having to say, I have no idea, but somehow he actually managed to do it. And then he says he can easily travel between different universes, so he must have found some sort of way. Positive matter is a perfect meal for him, so I'm guessing that the reason he wanted to escape also makes him stronger. With Gohan having to say, feed on positive matter, that's very hard to imagine. I mean, you've said that he destroyed planets, so I'm assuming he ate them, but how? And Superman having to say, well, he didn't actually eat the planet, he was able to change the positive matter into negative matter. It looked like some kind of energy wave, which then he can later consume. With Gohan having to say, does it mean that we can even be in danger? With Superman having to say, correct, every single life, every single planet, every single universe was at stake of being completely destroyed. Obviously, we couldn't let it happen, so we finally approached him. He beat us with no sweat. bad. He was insanely strong, we couldn't even scratch him, but after a long battle, I was able to defeat the Anti-Monitor with pure luck, with Gohan having to say, wow, so you must be really strong, so that means that everything is okay now, right? With Superman having to say, well, yeah, but before the Anti-Monitor died, he exploded, sending me here, and now I have no idea how to get back home. And Gohan having to say, man, I wish I can help you. All that stuff isn't exactly my deal, although maybe Bulma can help. And that's when Superman's like, Bulma? With Gohan having to say, yep, she's the smartest person I ever met. Also, her future self built a time machine to bring her son to our time so we can help him save his world from the androids. And Superman is so confused, he's like, what? And that's when Gohan's like, I mean, that must have sounded pretty confusing. I know where she lives, I can take you there, no problem for me. And that's when Superman's like, okay, thank you. And that's when, you know, Gohan even says, all right, let's go. So as he's about to go, he stops and he's like, crap, I have to go on ahead and change. And as he changes, Superman says, okay, I can see the big building with the logo of Capsule Corporation. I mean, what? I mean, that's like 100 miles away, right? I mean, one of my powers is supervision. So obviously Superman knows, in which Gohan says, anyways, it's an honor meeting you, Superman, with Superman having to say it was my pleasure. And we see how Gohan takes off and pretty much, you know, leaving Superman by himself, and Superman having to say, darn, why do I get this strange feeling that his voice and look is very familiar? And we see how he leaves behind his helmet and saying, oh, he left his helmet, I guess I should take it to Bulma before someone actually finds it and tries to steal the helmet. So that's when Gohan's like, you know, he goes off and he says, oh shit, the conference, I forgot all about the conference. And Superman's like, conference? Because obviously Gohan came back and he changed, and that's when Superman's like, that really rings a bell. And Gohan having to say, I'm really sorry, Superman, I can't take you to Bulma, I can't miss my appointment, it's very important. And Superman's like, well, don't worry, I understand, maybe I can find Bulma myself, and if you can tell me where she is. And that's when Gohan pretty much points out where she is in West City, and that's when Superman's like, give me a second. So he's trying to figure out as to where they are, and out in the distance, we get to see Goku and Vegeta training. So this is obviously building towards something very big, as we see Goku and Vegeta pretty much kicking each other's butts, and the people watching this are none other than Beerus and Whis. And Beerus says, those two dumbasses training all day, with Whis having to say, then what are they supposed to do, Lord Beerus? With Beerus having to say, I don't know, eat all those delicious strawberries, I'm guessing. And then he looks on over and he says, what? There's only one left? And Whis is like, you've eaten a whole cup by yourself, Lord Beerus. And Beerus having to say, well, then I'm just gonna grab this one as my final delicious piece and just enjoy it. Let's just make it the last meal and we'll, you know, leave here. And that's when he's about to grab the strawberry, and then Goku comes out of nowhere. He sees the strawberry and he's like, ooh, a strawberry. And he, you know, he teleports, he eats the strawberry right in front of Beerus, and Beerus is pissed. And that's when, you know, Whis even says, you know, so did you finish your training? With Goku having to say, yep, me and Vegeta got pretty hungry, so we decided to take a little break. And that's when Goku says, there is nothing better than a big dinner after a hard training session. Am I right, Lord Beerus? And Beerus is pissed, because this is reminiscent to the whole pudding situation. And that's when Goku's like, Beerus? And that's when Beerus is like, you ate my last strawberry. And Goku kind of like gulps his like saliva, and even Vegeta's surprised. And that's when Beerus says, no one in the whole universe dared to eat something of mine. Do you even realize how many planets I destroyed just because someone prepared a tasteless meal for me? And that's when Goku's like, oh, come on, Lord Beerus, it was just one strawberry. I mean, you ate so many before. And that's when Beerus pretty much erupts in a rage, and you know, Goku's like, yikes, I'm in trouble. And Beerus guns right for Goku, and as Goku pretty much moves out the way, Beerus kicks him so hard in the ass, and even Whis is a little annoyed by this, and Beerus having to say, that should teach you, dumbass, but it's not over yet. So he kicks Goku in the ass. Goku's in like tremendous pain, and then all of a sudden we see how Superman says, yes, there's the same Son Goku that I've met a few years ago, no doubt about it, and that's his home. And I mean, is this where I came from? I don't know. I didn't turn back in time. I was sent to another dimension. And that's when Superman says, what is this pressure that I feel from this cat-like being? It's inconceivable. I've never felt anything like it, because he can't seem to comprehend Beerus's power, and Beerus is still beating up Goku. He's saying, take this, he's kicking him around, and that's when Superman shows up, and he's saying, you know, this guy destroyed Son Goku. What is he? I mean, how in the world, I mean, what's going on? Because, you know, Superman's like, what the hell? He assumes that Goku's getting beat up pretty bad, Superman, and he goes right towards Son Goku's direction, and Goku having to say, oh come on, just stop it already, it hurts like hell. And that's when Superman says she should be somewhere around here, and he spots Lord Beerus and Goku having a fight, and Superman having to say, okay, someone's fighting over there. And he sees it and he's like, whoa, it's Son Goku. And just as that happened, Vegeta's watching the fight, and then all of a sudden he sees a helmet drop next to him, and he's saying, what is that? I mean, how did this helmet get here? And Superman charges right towards Lord Beerus, and he punches him in the stomach, and Beerus is in pain. Whis notices this alongside Vegeta, in which we see Lord Beerus drop down, and even Beerus is saying, you, who the hell are you? And that's when Superman's like, my name is Superman, and I stand up for those who are weaker and defenseless. And Beerus having to say, what? And Vegeta's like, defenseless? Is this some kind of a joke for real? I mean, like what kind of parody of a man is this? And Beerus is pissed. Beerus is like, what kind of bullshit is this? You hit me while I was punishing that dumbass, and I felt that. Do you not realize that who you just hit? I'm gonna kill you. And Beerus having to be so mad that, you know, Superman provoked him, because through Superman's perspective, he thinks that he's attacking Goku, and that's when the manga chapter cuts off. And again, I do want to say that the person that's creating this manga is doing a fantastic job, and he's currently working on more. So make sure you guys go on ahead and support him and tell him that I sent you guys, and pretty much, you know, having to support his project. So I'm gonna leave a link down below in the description box. Comment down below, guys, what are your overall thoughts on Superman having to meet Gohan, on Superman having to attack Lord Beerus? I'm gonna be covering future chapters as he releases them, with Beerus versus Superman and much more. So leave your thoughts down below, guys. Thank you all for watching. If you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to go on ahead and punch that subscribe button and turn on notifications. That way you guys can be notified whenever I post a video on the channel. Thank you all for watching, guys. Once again, tune back in for more, and I'll be seeing you all in the next Dragon Ball fan manga review. Take it easy, guys. Peace.